Flip Flap is a pretty good cartoon, but I'm not 100% sure what message, if any, they were trying to give. Maybe there wasn't a message, but I'd be very keen to know what you thought with the ending. But I will discuss this with spoiler warning towards the end. For now, this will be spoiler free. This was released in 1948. It's a Famous Studios cartoon directed by Izzy Sparber and Myron Waldman, and we have a voice cast including Jackson Beck, Gwen Davies, Mae Questel, Sid Raymond, and Ken Roberts. And it starts off at a zoo, and the seal, Flip Flap, our protagonist, is not very happy. So he decides to break free from the zoo and head to the Arctic. And it's pretty comical. There are a lot of different visual gags, nothing that I found to be particularly amazing, but there were some funny moments. There was a Christmas seal I rather liked, and it's a nice little story for the most part, and Flip Flap is enjoying this new freedom, and he finds a girlfriend, and he's getting on very well with his female companion, and everything is just going really well for Flip Flap, and then something happens. And I won't say just now what that something is, but I will again, with a spoiler warning, mention it. And it gets a little emotional and a little difficult to watch. Not horrendously difficult, but certainly it becomes a little less jolly for Flip Flap. And that's the point where I'm not 100% sure what message they're trying to give, but I'll get in with that in a moment. Flip Flap is a very likeable protagonist. He's not the most multi-layered protagonist, he's not too complex, but at the same time, there's enough there to be able to feel an emotional connection with the character. The animation is really nice. It's obviously mostly a very crisp white colour palette because of the setting, and the design of the characters I really liked as well, and the music is really good, so it ticks all of the right boxes. It is, for the most part, a very sweet, straightforward story with a really likeable protagonist, and I definitely recommend it. I will now discuss the ending because I'm not 100% sure what the message is. Again, maybe they weren't trying to deliver a certain message, maybe it's just where they wanted to take the story. So spoilers from now. Things get dramatic when some humans come along and they take away Flip Flap's girlfriend. And of course he's heartbroken. And there's still a little bit of comedy there. For example, his tears turn into icicles, which sounds more depressing than it actually is. They managed to keep it light enough, but obviously he's heartbroken, and he realises, well, what's the point in having all of this freedom of the Arctic without my girlfriend? And he decides to journey back to the zoo. And when he's at the zoo, he realises his girlfriend is there. They'd actually come to steal her. Well, steal her maybe is not the right word. They came to capture her to take her to the zoo. It's worth pointing out that most zoos don't have that kind of practice, most good zoos, but nevertheless, this is what this zoo is doing. And Flip Flap goes home to the zoo, realises his girlfriend is there, and everything is happy and delightful again. And maybe the message is that home is where the heart is. That's a pretty good message. Flip Flap returned to the zoo. The zoo previously made him miserable, but by going back there and finding his girlfriend, he was happy to stay there because home is where the heart is, and his heart was with his girlfriend. I feel like I'm clutching at straws, though. Definitely clutching at straws there. So I'm not really sure. I thought the message was going to be, don't capture animals because they'll be heartbroken. But then he went back to the zoo and was happy at the zoo, so I'm not 100% sure. As I said, maybe they weren't trying to deliver a specific message, but I would love to know, if you watch the cartoon, what you read into it. But other than that, other than me not being sure about how I personally feel about the ending, I thought it was a really sweet cartoon, very well animated, and Flip Flap was a really likeable protagonist as well. If you haven't seen it and you're a fan of Famous Studios, or you're just looking for a decent cartoon, then Flip Flap is definitely worth watching.